Well, hello, and thanks for joining us. This is the Who C2C podcast. This is our first episode, our inaugural episode, and I'm joined by my good friend Paul.
Hello, that's me.
That's Paul, and I'm Geoff. And the Who C2C podcast is the Corner to Corner podcast. So if you are here listening because you know myself and Paul from our MCU Corner to Corner podcast, thank you for following us.
Thank you.
And if you're here because you like Doctor Who and you don't know anything about our MCU podcast, then welcome. So we've turned it into a brand, haven't we? The C2C, which is Corner to Corner.
Corner to
And that
Corner.
came about
C2C.
Yeah. So that came about because Paul and I decided we would do a podcast, and we sort of mutually suggested doing the MCU. I've seen all the films multiple times, and Paul had only ever seen one or two of them once over the years.
Handful at that time.
Handful. So we decided we would kind of watch each film in order and talk about them from the viewpoint of a noob and of a...
That's me.
That's Paul, and an experienced fan,
that's Geoff.
Fan, which is me. So we were coming from two different corners of the universe and exploring the universe from one corner, its origin, to its other corner, which is ever expanding. Which is actually what we did there. And so now that we've...
I'm going to do it to my pants. I'm going to do my underpants from corner to corner, explore them from one corner to another.
Inside out, front and back. That's a reference from...
that's how you get the most wear out of them.
Yeah. And then we we had a great time doing that. We met some really great people.
Yeah, we have. And are still having, actually.
We are still having, we just recorded another one tonight. And then we said, well, what can we do when the MCU stuff finishes, because it will become less frequent, as the films come out every couple of months and things. So we said, one of our other loves is Doctor Who. So let's do that. Yeah. So here we are. This is the start of Who C2C, and this episode is just going to be a bit of a kind of get to know us both, and our love of Who. And the plan will be that when Series 13 starts, which will be soon, we're recording, we don't know the date, but it will be soon. By the time this goes out, we're going to do a podcast each week on each episode and what we thought of it, and hopefully be having our minds blown. And then once we've reached the end of those 6 episodes, I think we will possibly start to... I haven't actually talked about this with you, Paul, but look at just randomly selected episodes and
episodes. Yeah, I like that. I like that idea,
and then obviously next year we will have other episodes to go before we reach Jodie's end.
I never go there. Hey, all the things, my friend.
I am
all the things. That was quite amazing. I can see why you're on the other side of the camera now.
Yeah. My day job is a video director, cameraman, and I rarely go in front of the camera for obvious reasons. Not my appearance. So we will be.
It's your Bouffant hair. Look at it; it's amazing.
Yeah,
that deserves to be in front of the camera.
So we're going to be probably hopping between the worlds of the MCU and Doctor Who. With our podcast.
Yeah, indeed.
Keeping them going. So we hope you'll join us on our journey. I think
please join us.
We are going to start getting guests in and chatting with people about their love of Who and things like that as well. So let's kick things off anyway. So Paul, why don't you
very excited.
You take the mic for a bit and tell me a bit more about your actually, because the tables have sort of turned a little bit here. Your love of Who has lasted been for longer than mine, because you're older than me,
mate. Yeah, thanks, bastard.
Only by a couple of months.
Only a few years.
Yeah,
a few years, a few months, whatever. Anyway, I still look amazing for my age.
Yeah, you do.
I still carry within me the mental image of a 25-year-old, and that's obviously how I present myself. Yeah, don't worry about these little grey hairs, mate. They don't mean very much.
I cut my hair short to hide mine.
Behave yourself, honestly. You wait, mate. Just you wait. Right, okay, back to the subject in hand. So, Doctor Who, oh man, yeah, I'm I don't even know where to start on this, really. I mean, if I started right at the very beginning, I'd probably be here for hours. Because I could honestly talk about Doctor Who all day. It's my one true love of all things. It really is, because it has been with me all my life. I'm a child of the 70s. That was the decade in which I was born. So you can work it out how old I am. I just won't tell you which year
Well,
in that,
I
but I
can
do
say
recall. Yeah, go on.
I was born in the 70s as well, but
Yeah, there you
only
see.
just
So
by
shut
about
up.
2 months.
Shut up. Shut up. I was quite well developed by that point.
Yeah.
But but I mean so for me it's always been a case of, it's always been a thing that's always been there from as soon as I can remember. And because it was so terrifying to a young kid in those years, they form very strong memories. So I remember really clearly the scenes from the brain of Morbius when Sarah Jane is kind of wandering around blind or just getting her sight back, and then this corpse of things just comes to life and starts grating out with that voice. I remember the brain dropping to the floor. Again, when I was a kid, I remember things like the Ark in Space was one that terrified me as well, because you go from having these great big white corridors of the space station Nerva to the sort of darkness of the solar stacks, and Tom Baker had a really weird kind of face anyway that just scared the bejesus out of me every time it came on in that blue time tunnel. So yeah, I spent a lot of my early years kind of traumatized by Doctor Who, actually. It probably goes a long way to
It
to
says a
making
lot,
me the
really. Yeah.
man I am
Yeah.
today, right?
Did you hide behind the sofa to watch
No,
it?
I didn't. I didn't ever do
No.
that. No, man.
I,
I confronted my fears. I want to own my fears head on. Hence the reason why a few years after the Brain of Morbius and all that, I literally flew upstairs when Scaroth took his face off in the City of Death. That freaked me out for
yeah.
years afterwards. Honestly, that was another really strong memory. And even things like Destiny of the Daleks, I remember just freaking out the time tunnels. That's the signature, the theme tune at the start of it with, again, the diamond logo and everything. And it was definitely Destiny of the Daleks. I was staring at it because what was going through my head was, that's how you get to Doctor Who world. And I thought the way you got into this time tunnel was by entering the police box at Blackpool exhibition, because that was always there, right? So we used to go to Blackpool a lot in those days, because I used to be a northerner back in the day, and we used to go to Blackpool and live in a caravan for a week every summer. And yeah, so yeah, I used to think I would walk through this police box entrance to the museum, somehow be blasted through Doctor Who's time tunnel, diamond logo and scary face and everything else, and end up on somewhere like Skaro, for example, only to be blasted like all the other extras in the film. So yeah, so it was a source of continual terror. And then I kind of got into things more as a fan, I suppose, when I got a little bit older and that Peter Davison sort of took things on. And throughout the 80s, that's when I started getting into the history of the series and finding out more about all the stuff that happened before I was alive, and all that black and white stuff. And of course, it was a big mystery then, because we didn't have any repeats. There'd been a repeat season, which everyone will remember, the Five Faces of Doctor Who, which was the first time I'd ever seen any of those old black and white things from Patrick Troughton and William Hartnell or whatever, and even John Pertwee. But the thing that really made me a fan was the Target novels. And there's a whole discussion really there, because that was the only way you could read about these old things. And I've got some really strong memories of those. So, but I've stayed with it, through thick and thin. I've got a whole ton of books. I've seen every episode now umpteen times, and I'm loving the new series. And I think actually, right now I've enjoyed it. I loved it when it came back, when Russell brought it back in 2005, and I've loved it when through the Moffat years. And I think actually I love it even more now, for what it is right now with Jodie. So I would consider myself a big Jodie fan, and of course you are as well, Geoff. I know, because that's kind of how we met on Twitter, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, it was really, because I was just banging on about it, and how much I loved it.
Banging on.
And yeah, that was how we met, wasn't it? And which has been one of the wonderful things about it. We've got a little group chat, and we with a few other cool people, and we've met offline, IRL, and done some work. I mean, it's in real life.
We have actually, yeah. We've done business together.
Yeah, we've done some work together, and then we talk every week, or just about every week, for the podcast stuff, and which has been brilliant, to for me, and maybe the same for you. I've not had anyone who's one of the reasons why Twitter's been so good in the whole is the chance to talk to people about stuff I love, particularly Doctor Who, because my friends are, I don't know anyone who's interested in it. So to talk at length about this stuff has been brilliant. So for me, my Doctor Who, I'm just going to tell you this, you haven't asked, but
go for it. Yeah. Tell us about your Doctor Who experience, Geoff.
My experience. So I can quite vividly remember McCoy and watching that. But I also have memories of seeing Peter Davison bowling and playing cricket. And I can also remember seeing Tom Baker on TV. So obviously you're a bit older than me, and I don't think I would have
as we've established, we'd have to go on about it.
But I was going to say, I don't think I would have been watching those Doctors at the time they were on and my age. So I think that I saw them on repeats, because I'm pretty certain that the show was repeated at some point on Saturdays on BBC Two at some point or something.
There might have been in the 80s, I think. In fact, yes, there were repeats of things like Genesis of the Daleks. I think there was like an omnibus repeat in between season 19 and 20 or something like that, and they because the Five Faces of Doctor Who, the first real repeat season, which filled the gap between the end of Tom Baker and the start of Peter Davison, was really successful. I think they kind of did a cut down version of it, or repeated the occasional thing in the years following. But I definitely remember Genesis of the Daleks as one of them, because I remember where I was. That was when we just moved down south, and I would have been about sort of 12 or 13 perhaps, thereabouts. It's funny actually, isn't it, when you sort of tie the memories of watching Doctor Who or any other program, but specifically or particularly for me, the Doctor Who is where it ties into memories of a life event, or something that happened. It's I don't know. That's a weird thing. I've noticed that a few other people remark on it on Twitter as well, and I think that's one of the reasons why its fans are so passionate. But yeah, it's weird by that. But sorry, Geoff, you were saying anyway. So and a few Baker episodes.
I must have seen some form of repeat or something.
Yeah,
but I can clearly remember watching McCoy's episodes, and I can remember Silver Nemesis and thinking the Cybermen were awesome, and really loving that. And I also have very strong memory of being at my grandparents' house in Cornwall. They live near the coast, and wanting to watch Doctor Who that week, and my dad saying no. With Gran and everything, and my Gran saying, "I'm not going to try and do her Cornish accent, but let him watch it, dear. It's only it's not long. I'm going to watch it, and then it finishing, and that's the last one."
What that was Survival. That was the last ever.
Yeah. And I can remember, watching it, and then there wasn't a next week. I'm absolutely certain that someone will probably be able to prove me wrong, but the continuity thing said, that was the last one. And feeling like, that's a bit disappointing.
Yeah.
And then I probably moved on to other things a little bit. But then when it came back with Paul McGann, I remember watching, and I also remember down in Cornwall again, actually, on holiday with some friends. So I would have been probably in college, I guess, going to buy the VHS.
Oh, yeah.
Some listeners may think, what's a VHS? From a shop called Woolworth, which is, what is Woolworth?
Woolies,
and buying that. And I was slightly vague, but did it go out on VHS? Was it released on tape before it was broadcast?
Yeah, I think it was.
So
I think there was a bit of a mix-up with that.
I saw it, but I remember watching it, when it went out, as soon as I got it or something. And I really enjoyed that. And then again was disappointed that there wasn't anything coming back.
No, I was gutted, man.
Yeah, it was disappointing. But I didn't realise at the time, because I was obviously a bit younger still. But that
Yes,
there
you
was
keep saying
anything
that, don't
else.
you?
No, but I mean, like, the books or anything like that. I didn't know that
Oh,
any of
what?
that stuff
So
was there.
the Target
So
books, you didn't get those
I
or
didn't
anything?
know.
Or
So that was it. Oh, okay, well, that
yeah,
was great like that. Bought the tape of it, but it's watched that a few times.
yeah,
It's done. So when it came back in 2005, I remember
mm,
thinking, "Oh, that's brilliant. Okay, I want to watch that again." And I watched the first 3 episodes
yeah,
when they went out live, and I remember Graham Norton, buggering up
yeah,
Rose, but then I ended up with work. I used to film a lot of bands in my early days at work and stuff, so I'd be out on a Saturday night and stuff,
yeah,
and I didn't see the rest of the first series. And then it was released. I still got this in a square TARDIS DVD set at Christmas
yeah. I
time.
still got that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I got my version of that.
which was great, but now it's really annoying on the shelf.
Yeah,
um, and I bought
mine's up
that.
there somewhere. I think it's
Yeah,
actually warped now. Actually,
yeah, mine's faded in the
is it?
colour, but
Yeah.
and I bought it, and I watched all the episodes in like 2 days,
Mm,
and I just kind of completely, fell in love with it again. And then, like
yeah.
I've been with it since it came back, and you know, I loved Tennant. I thought all of that was brilliant. I really liked,
He was kind of
Smith's stuff,
made for the role,
and
wasn't he? Really?
he was, and I would say that. I liked McCoy. He was the one I kind of watched when I was young.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say at that time I had a classic, Doctor that was mine, and I
Mm,
loved Tennant from the moment he walked out of the TARDIS in the Christmas Invasion, took the Sycorax's staff and broke it on his knee, and he said, "Can't get the staff anymore," something like that. I thought that's really funny. It's such a bad joke, but brilliant.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I always, loved him, and I really liked a lot of Capaldi stuff as well.
Mm,
But when Jodie came, I have to be honest, she became my doctor, and
yeah.
took that spot. And I don't like, ranking the doctors or anything. I think they're all
No, me neither.
brilliant, but
No, I think
there's
they're all
always,
great.
yeah, they're all great. There's always going to be one that you have
Mm,
a
a
stronger
special
connection
connection,
with. Yeah,
perhaps. Yeah.
and it became her, and much like you, I feel like I love the show. Well, no, I do. I love the show more now than I ever
Yeah.
have, and everything about this era has really clicked for me, and
Mm,
I think it's been superb. But in general, I love the show, and I could talk about it, any time and any day.
yes.
I
See.
don't. People as they listen will probably
Yeah.
realise that we're not. Well, I think we like to see. So we like to see the good in every episode, but I kind of feel like there isn't a truly bad episode of it. There's always something good in any of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
I do know what you mean, and yeah, yeah, yeah. We're gonna have some interesting
yeah.
discussions on this, I think.
I mean,
Because yeah, go on.
I wouldn't watch Love and Monsters if I was given two
Yeah.
discs and one of them was Love and Monsters and the other one was Smith and Jones. I'd pick
Mm,
Smith and Jones. But what I like about Love and Monsters is, I said this to someone on Twitter the other day. A kid designed that alien, and it got made into a real
yeah.
costume, and I think that's great. So
I think it is. It can
I,
only
I
happen in Doctor Who.
yeah, exactly, and for it to be a fat blob that's absorbing people.
Absorb. Yeah. Peter
The
Kay as
show is
well.
the show is bonkers. It's
Totally. Yeah.
truly unlike
It
anything
always has
else.
been.
Yeah, and it's unlike anything else on TV,
Mm,
both in terms of its central ideas and from a production point of view, which I'm quite interested in. It's completely different every episode, sets, world, time period, the whole thing. It's an
yeah.
extremely challenging and difficult show to make, and yeah, I think it's brilliant. Just love it. So I'm looking forward to Who C to C.
Yeah. Corner to corner. That's
Mm.
the thing, isn't it? So yeah, and of course we want other people's opinions as
Yep.
well. And do you know what, honestly, and we've said this in our MCU C2C podcast as well. We don't mind if you disagree with us, if
Mm.
you have completely the opposite opinions to what we have, or if we have different opinions to what you do. Honestly, we welcome all opinions. I think the only thing we would really ask is that you keep it civil and polite.
Mm.
You know, we don't want those kind of slanging matches where if somebody disagrees with you, then they're obviously whatever they are. You know, everyone does have an opinion. So we would like it free of hate speech and, you know, things like that, which I'm sure it will be. You know, to be trustable. We love you guys.
Our MCU stuff has been really good, isn't it? You know, people have had different opinions we have about things.
One we did tonight, didn't we? We did a film where people literally were coming at it from polar opposites, and there was a whole bunch more occupying some space in the middle. And whilst we not necessarily might agree with those ourselves, we want them in because that for us is what sparks discussion, isn't it? You know?
And it's good to get that representative view of everything.
Definitely.
And you know, I just think at the end of the day, all of this kind of stuff is art to whatever
it's art, man.
It's art, baby.
Yeah,
and if you enjoy it, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if someone says it's objectively bad. I don't care. If it's worked emotionally for me and I've connected with it, that's all that matters.
Exactly. You know, exactly.
So, we want to hear from you guys, and you know, we've already had a good number of followers on our account, which is incredible. So thank you. So we hope that you'll get involved, and we hope that you'll enjoy listening to our ramblings. And get you involved, hopefully.
We don't really know where this is going to go at the moment, do we? Because, I mean, you said the plan, which is that we're kind of going to lead up to Series 13, and then when we get to Series 13, we're going to watch it.
Yeah.
But I think also maybe, see what you think about this, I've just thought this off the cuff of my head, if anybody's got any ideas about topics or stories or whatever, some sort of Doctor Who-related media or ideas, themes, whatever, give us a shout because we can feature those. You know,
we'll put a tweet out, which by the time you listen to this podcast will have gone out, so it's going to be
gone out already.
Travel for you, let us know what you think. You know, with our MCU podcast. People are they are kicking the door down to get involved.
They're literally kicking the door down really right now. They are.
I've bought 6 doors this month alone.
It's true.
But you know, that's great that people want to take part and, you know, chat with us and you know, be involved in things. So it's brilliant. So we'll hopefully you know, this will go nicely, and we'll enjoy it, and hopefully you guys listening will as well.
Yes, you will enjoy it. They will, Geoff.
So we said we'll keep this one short because this is just a bit of an intro to us and you know, the podcast in general. But my good friend Paul, what do you think will happen in Series 13? What are your hopes and expectations?
Oh, wow! You kind of threw that one on me, didn't you? You bugger! I've had no time to prepare or anything. You just throw it. Do you know what?
That's not the first time I've done that.
I tell you what, I know. Yeah, he does this every bloody time. I tell you what, I'm kind of looking forward to and would love to see is a kind of the next stage of the Timeless Child arc. Yeah. That's what I want to see. I want to know what crafty Chris Chibnall has had up his sleeve, and how that's going to play out, and what all the surprises are, and how that kind of plays into the Doctor's revelations from Series 12, which was mental when you think about it. So I really want to see that. I want to see Jodie just be amazing. You know, just honestly, I just want more Jodie. I want as much Jodie Doctor as I can get, like I do with all the Doctors. You know, I mean, I'm always gutted when each one of them announces that they're leaving. You know, when Capaldi announced he was leaving, I thought, no, he hasn't had long enough. You know, it never feels like any of them have long enough. And this whole ridiculous thing, the thing that annoys me is everybody seems to have got it into their heads that they only are allowed to stay in the role for 3 seasons, 3 years, whatever. And it's like, no, you know, stay longer, please.
I really thought Jodie was going to. Yeah, I thought Jodie was going to stay longer, so you know I was really disappointed.
Yeah, and it must be difficult now because there is a much longer time between seasons.
Yeah,
you know, it's kind of increased, hasn't it, over the years?
It has, and COVID hasn't helped recently as well. I can imagine there's an itch to go off and do something else, but you know, I think you know, I will you know, miss this era hugely when it's over, but you know, we've still got a year, you know, left.
Exactly. Yeah.
So and that's great.
And to be honest as well, I think as I've said before, I'm even despite the pain of losing a familiar Doctor or the Doctor that you're becoming or have just become familiar with and feel comfortable with, for me, there's still always that excitement of what's going to happen next. who else is it going to be? What direction is the show going to go in? Because it's one of the things that's always kept me hanging on to this show and just following it passionately is its ability to move, adapt, and change, literally from story to story, but certainly from year to year. And as we've seen now, from each different showrunner seems to have their own kind of take and style on the program. And do you know what? I was watching my daughter's also, you know, she's become a bit of a Doctor Who fan over the last few years, but we've also been watching the DC shows, as you will know, Geoff. And you know what? We started watching The Flash a few years back, and we're on series 7 now, and it's kind of a little bit dull, to be honest. We were kind of remarking on it there. And the thing is, you know, these series, it's got the same characters, right? They're struggling to find a threat because they're all happening in the same place. And there's so many, you know, it's like, well, we've seen that, we've done that. It's the same characters. They haven't really moved. It's not, you know, there's a little bit of character development, but it's not massive. It's little nudges here and there. And the thing is, with Doctor Who, it's different because the whole of time and space is open. We go from the past to the future. We've got everybody's different takes on things, and you know, there are shows where they're kind of mirroring the age in which they were produced. So all the values and ideas of the future and ideas of the past even are kind of reflected in the current shows. So it just constantly evolves, and I absolutely love that. You know, that's a massive reason why I'm still with it. I just thought I'd throw that one in in case anybody was in any doubt as to why does this old geezer still like Doctor Who.
Well, it wouldn't have survived this long if it wasn't, you know, if it was still doing what it did when it started. As good as it is, it wouldn't have survived because I know
that's the mad thing. And when you think
times, you know,
when I think now, it's like 2005, which for me still counts as the new series, right? But there are kids who were born in 2005 who are now coming up to 20 years old. You know, which is just crazy to think of.
You know? And of course, think of it as the new series, but it's
that's right. And for a lot of these people, David Tennant or Matt Smith was their first Doctor. You know, their equivalent of my Tom Baker. You know, I was traumatized by an Ark in Space repeat at some point and the Brain of Morbius, and there's people getting traumatized by Weeping Angels. You know what I mean? And that's just crazy to me.
Mad,
because again, but that's how it is. And you know, see, when I was coming up into my sort of 20 years in the sort of 1990s rather, there were people who'd been there since the 60s and saying, well, I remember the very first episode, you know, I was 9-year-old then, and it were all underwater, and Patrick Troughton was the Doctor. You know, well, actually, no, you find it was William Hartnell, but share your memories, please. You know, that old gatekeeper creeps in; you can't help it. You know,
it's like, you know, I love that bit where the Cybermen come out of the water in the Thames. You know?
The uncivilized people of the world who just don't know. But you know, I mean, this is another thing, because even amongst people who haven't, you know, who wouldn't count themselves fans of Doctor Who, we all know about it. You know, my parents know about it, and they don't watch it in the same way that I do. People I know in the street and friends I used to go to school with, again, they would watch it. They were never big fans like I was, and their memories would be a little mixed up. But it's great that they even think those things, that you know, that it's conjured up these images in their head that stay with them. And I think that is also another really powerful thing. I can't think of anything really produced by, you know, BBC Telly, which has had such a massive cultural impact. You know, there are various shows which have kind of lived and died. You know, things like Blake 7, which is, you know, another one of my favourites, but it only ran for 4 series and 4 very memorable series. That has kind of stayed with us. But you know, Doctor Who is still here. It's still with us, and it's still as strong to me as it ever was.
I don't think it's not going anywhere. It's
say it like you mean it, Geoff. That's what I love about you, my friend.
Well, we're coming up to some, you know, very exciting. That came out a bit flat, but I was just thinking about it. You're right. You know, it's incredible how it's lasted, and I don't think the show is going anywhere. And you know, we're coming up to a very exciting time. I'm excited for, you know, the change in. You know, kind of the narrative structure that's coming up. You know, 6-hour, almost long story. You know, which is great. That's going to be really interesting. I want to see what happens with the timeless children arc. I'm sure there'll be some more twists in that. I don't think
I'm sure there will be.
as cut and dry as you might think. But we can talk more about all of this.
Yes,
when
we shall.
If we don't brain ourselves in, we'll just keep going. So
that's a good point.
When this episode will be going out very close to the launch of Series 13, so we will be back very soon. To talk about the first episode of Series 13 and our thoughts on it. So we thank you for listening, and we will see you on the next one.
We'll see you on the next one. Yes! Thank you for joining us. Please invite your friends.